I'm going to repurpose this floating shelf. Now this shelf was in our house when we bought it. We didn't really like it because where it was at, we felt it stuck out a little too far. So we've since replaced it. But being the person that I am, I couldn't throw this away. So I thought perhaps I could make it into a nice entryway sign for my home. So that's what I'm going to do today. It is about, let's see, looks like it's just over 23.5 inches long, not quite to 24, but it has a laminate on it, and I'm going to use my heat gun and try to warm it up and take this laminate off, this very little piece of laminate, and that way I can paint it more easily without having to sand it down. So that's what I'm going to be working on at this point, is removing this laminate. Using my heat gun and this putty knife, I was able, with the help of my husband, to peel off the laminate off the top and 3 sides. The 2 ends and the top piece of here. I did not remove it from the back, and the bottom didn't need it because this is where the like hidden bracket went when this was a floating shelf. So this will actually be the facing down side when I create my sign, and this will be the front side. This is going to go to a wall, so I'm not going to put the effort into removing it because it actually did take quite a bit of effort to remove the laminate. I assumed it would. I don't know. I thought it would come off a little easier. So I was able, like I said, with the help of my husband, to get these large chunks off. When I was trying to do it myself, it was coming off in just little flakes. And that was because I couldn't hold the piece, hold the putty knife, and hold the heat gun. So my husband came in, assisted me, and together we were able to get this off. So I had started out using this. This was not the right tool. I thought perhaps this little razor knife piece would work. This is like a scraper that you would use on tile to, I don't know, get paint and things off. I don't know what its actual name is. It says Unger on here, but I'm assuming that's just the brand name. But anyway, so I got this putty knife. This is what I needed, and we were able to pry that off. There is a bit of glue still on the ends that I'm going to work on trying to get off. But other than that, I think I have this prepped and ready. While off camera, I went ahead and painted the shelf black. I just used Waverly ink chalk paint and gave it 2 coats. So that is, it's almost completely dry at this point. But I'm going to move on to the next element of this sign, and it's going to be this little house. Now this house is just a scrap chunk of wood. When my husband and I moved into our home and we removed this shelf, we had some other chunks of wood where we made other shelves that were a little bit more narrow than this one. And where this floating shelf was located, a more narrow shelf was better suited. So this is just a leftover chunk of the shelving we used to replace actually the floating shelf. So my husband, I asked him if he could cut a little roof line in it. So he did so, and I'm going to make a little house out of it. And I have this little heart that came from a package I got from Target. It was in the dollar spot. I believe it was $3, but it came with 8 or so other little hearts like this in various colors. There was red and pink and like a natural wood tone, and then this white one. So I'm going to use this as a little chimney on my house. These are just popsicle sticks, well actually tongue depressors that I cut a straight line on. And I'm going to use those as the roof, and then attach this little heart as the chimney, and that's going to be an element in my sign. I'm going to incorporate this home sign, and I'm just going to arrange it on like that. But first I want to cover the house itself, and I'm going to go into my craft supplies, and I'm going to get some shelf liner, and we're going to use that to cover the house in a pretty black and white, and I think it'll look nice with the black shelf. So at this time, I'm just going to cover the house with the shelf liner. I have my piece of vinyl cut out, shelf liner, whatever you want to call this. So I'm going to go ahead and situate where I want it. I'm going to peel the backing off and apply it to my piece. So that is what the house will look like. And we will put the little home sign on here. However, I'm going to paint this home sign. I think I may do it in red, perhaps. We've come to the segment in this video where I am going to be painting all the things. I want to give this board a finish, so I'm going to use some Mod Podge. I wanted to use the matte kind, but unfortunately I don't have enough for such a large space, so I'm going to use this little bottle of gloss and just put on one coat just to give it a slight seal. For the house, I'm going to use these tongue depressors, one to put on the bottom to give it a finished look, and these two that I've trimmed just a little bit off, I'm going to put at the top for the roof. I'm just going to attach them using super glue gel, and this is something I picked up at Dollar Tree. I've used it before. I like it quite a bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and use it again. For the next portion of this sign, I'm going to do a reverse graphic transfer that I learned by watching Our Upcycled Life. I believe the lady's name is Deidre, and I have done something similar to this before based on her tutorial, and I really liked it. It came out quite well, so I'm going to try it again. It can be a little finicky, but I like the way it turns out, so I'm going to try this technique once again. It's only my second time doing it, so hopefully I'll be as successful this time as I was the first time. I have my little chunk of wood. I have painted it white. I am going to apply the Mod Podge to the piece of paper itself. This is just a Word document. I actually got some font out of Canva. It was a free font. I don't remember the name of it. I went ahead and downloaded, I typed up what I wanted it to say. Is filled with is what it says. And then I transferred it over to a Word document, and I mirrored the image before I printed it. So I'm going to put the matte Mod Podge on top, and I'm going to put just a light coat because that's what the tutorial instructions are. So I'll put a light coat, and then I'll put it on top of this chunk here, and hopefully I will get it all lined up appropriately and it'll come out nice. So we're going to just get started on that. Grab this chunk of paper towel. One of the things that is specifically mentioned in the tutorial that I watched is not to put too much on here, just to give it a light coat. So that is what I am going to attempt here. And she also said to use the matte Mod Podge. So that is what I have. And I'm going to apply Mod Podge. One other specific thing with this technique is you do have to let it dry for 24 hours. So I'm going to apply this today, and then I will come back to it tomorrow and pick back up on the video to show how I reveal it. All right, I think I have that pretty well coated. It's not overwhelmed. So hopefully it does have a bristle in it now though because of this brush. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to line it up on my chunk of wood here. Flip it over. Line it up as best I can. And smooth it down. And if this works, I will have a nice little phrase to add to my sign. Probably don't need to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways. All right. So it's applied. I'm going to leave it for the 24 hours, just set it aside while I work on other things. So I've painted the love sign with 2 coats of just an acrylic white apple barrel paint. The colors I'm using in my sign are this red, engine red, and this acrylic jet black. So I figured that I would try to, I don't know, make this a little less plain by giving it some polka dots. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start off. I've got this tool that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm not really sure what its purpose is. I use it for polka dots. You can make little polka dots and fat polka dots. And that's pretty much what I've used it for. I've never used it for anything else. So that's what's happening. And I'm just gonna randomly give this some polka dots. In addition to the black and red polka dots, I've decided I want to put a little bit of gold in there. And then I think I'm also going to take this little scrap of gold glitter paper that I have. It's kind of like a cardboard backing, and put it underneath the heart. And then I think I'm going to put just some little gold dots throughout also, just so it'll kind of all tie together. To my disappointment, my first attempt at the reverse graphic transfer did not work. I can only guess that I didn't put enough Mod Podge on. So I was trying to be conservative, and I didn't saturate it as much. So this time I think I'm going to go a little bit more, and I'm just going to make sure that the whole thing is well saturated, so that hopefully it'll work. I really would like to use this technique. And I don't think it's the technique's fault. I think it's user error. I didn't do it properly, apparently. Like I said, I have used this technique before, and it did work. So I'm sure I just made a mistake in the process. So I'm hoping that I can rectify that by trying one more time. You know, if at first you don't succeed, try again. I know the technique works. I've seen it work. It looks very nice when it works. So I just made an error in my execution. Hopefully this time I won't. So I've saturated it well. I'm going to flip it over on my piece of wood. Line it up the way I want it. Oops. Try not to mess it up. And push out all the air bubbles. One thing I noticed with my unsuccessful attempt is it was too small. The lettering was too small. So I made this print just slightly bigger, and hopefully it will, hopefully it'll work. And by this time tomorrow, I'll have a fully transferred sign. I'm going to start pulling together all the elements of my sign. I've got the shelf that I've painted black. I did end up taking it outside to sand it because it had a very rough texture. I do like the texture that it does have, but it's now soft to the touch, whereas before it was very rough to the touch. So I do like this much better after sanding it. I'm going to start off by adding a red piece of ribbon here on the edge, and to make sure that I get it in the right spot, I'm just going to use a piece of blue painter's tape and line it up on the very edge of the sign so that it's right on the edge. And then I'm going to take, it is just 16 inches of red ribbon, 1.5 inch wide ribbon. So I'm going to add this ribbon to the side and wrap it around the back and glue it to the back so that I don't have any glue marks on the front or the top. So I'm going to put some glue here. Just to keep this strip here. Some of this end off, and then give this side also some glue. My little silicone wants to actually stick to the glue. There we go. Got my little red ribbon stuck on. I'm going to remove the painter's tape. It was just there to help guide me. I think I may add a little bit of tape to the back here just to help it stay. Okay. All right. have the red ribbon added. On the red ribbon, I'm going to add my lettering that says Our. I'm going to use some super glue gel. As I was bringing together the elements of this sign, I made a couple of decisions. One, I switched out the gold cardstock behind the heart for a red glitter cardstock. I felt it went with the theme a little bit better than bringing in this gold when there was no gold anywhere else in the sign. So I think that looks a little better. I have attached the love sign. I did that off camera. It was a little tricky trying to do it with the hot glue and the super glue and holding everything together while I did it. So this is attached, everything's attached. The only thing I still need is my sign right here. I'm going to start working on this to see if I have been successful on my second attempt at doing the reverse transfer. This has been on the chunk of wood for just under 24 hours at this point, so I'm going to hopefully get it to come off this time. I'm just dipping a paper towel in some water. I don't want it to be drippy, but I want it to be wet enough to get the paper pretty wet. And then I'm just going to go over the top of the image. And get it a little bit wet. And then I'm going to start just rubbing to see if I can get the paper part to come off and still have the sign left behind. Overall, this is the look I was going for, so I'm pretty excited that it worked. Aside from this little spot here on the F, everything seemed to take nicely, and I do want to just do a couple more little spots, but it actually seemed to turn out pretty nice. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to let it dry, maybe fuss with it just a little bit more, but not too much because I don't want to damage it. Now I'm just going to attach that sign here, and then you'll see that the sign I'm creating says, "Our home is filled with love." And it's just something that I'm going to put on a shelf that I have just as you enter into my home. Now I'm just going to attach this with my handy dandy super glue gel and be done with it. If you're anything like me, you might have gone a little overboard at the Dollar Tree buying all the cute love things. Because love isn't just for Valentine's Day. You can do all sorts of things. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to do non-Valentine specific decor items out of all the Valentine things. Well, not all of them, but what you see here on the table. So I got 2 of the love signs. I've already peeled off one of the love signs, and I'm going to peel off the rest using my heat gun and this tool, and if necessary, this scraper. But the first one came off with this, so hopefully it'll be the same. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Heat up the metal, but be careful because it is metal and you're heating it up, so it will get hot. So I'm going to try to just peel it up with this. Here we go. And just like that, done. we're going to start assembling these into a flower vase. You've probably seen it with the larger love sign. I don't need something quite that big, so I'm going to attempt it with the XOXO and the love. I'm going to start off, I have this chunk of wood, and I'm going to use it just to help me align everything along with this L ruler. I have not painted them or finished them in any way yet. I'm going to assemble them first, at least 3 of them, and decide how I want to finish it. Most likely going to paint it, but I just want to get them assembled first. So we're going to have love, and then the XOXO I'm going to do backwards because it's going to be down. You can hear some emergency vehicles outside. I apologize. Hopefully everybody's okay. And I have the other love sign. I'm gonna put it like that because I want the loves to face the same direction. So I've glued all of the signs together. I've got 2 of the XO, 2 of the love. It's made a nice little, I guess, vase, flower holder, whatever you want to call it. If you didn't want to turn it into that, you could just set it on the side and have it be a shelf sitter. It says love on top, XO on the front. You know, however you want to do it. You see it from each side, although on this side the XO is backwards. So I'm going to use it as a vase for some flowers, and I'm going to do nice spring colors, but I don't want the vase to be the main focus. I do kind of like this coloring, but I want to disguise it a little bit more. So you'll learn this about me, but I really enjoy the color black. So I am going to paint this thing black. And then that way the flowers are the standout item, not the vase itself. And I'm just using Waverly ink chalk paint. You could use any color black paint you have. You could spray paint this. If I was patient enough, it's supposed to be decent outside this weekend in the next few days. So I could spray paint it. I do happen to have a black spray paint, but I'm not patient enough, so I'm going to go ahead and just paint it. I'm going to paint everything that you can see. So the sides, the inside, I'm not sure that you're going to really be able to see as much. So I'm not sure I'm going to put too much effort into that. But the top, the sides, I'm going to paint all of that. And I won't make you watch me do it all. Lucky you. I have finished painting the vase. Love, XOXO. I just did it in black. I only did 1 coat of Waverly ink chalk paint. I tried to get in all the grooves as best I can. I don't know if you can see inside there, but the center part is not finished. But I did the best I could, and you really can't see it too. It's not noticeable when you're just looking at it. And when it has flowers in it, it's going to be even less noticeable. And I'm going to stand it when I use it so that love is facing this way, XOXO, so it's going from top to bottom. I don't know if that's going to show on camera. Here, we'll just set it like this for now. I went through my stash of flowers and I found an assortment of things. I've got these from the Dollar Tree. I don't know if they have this out yet this year. This was actually left over from last year. So I've got those flowers. I've got some roses also left over from last year from a project I did, and I had some left over. These, I don't actually know what these are called because I already ripped the little label off. These were from Walmart in the clearance section just within the last couple of months. So I picked them up because they were, I think they were like $1, so they were very, very cheap. I've got some cut hydrangeas also from Dollar Tree. I, again, used them in a project and had this little bit left over. And then I have these, I think these are peonies. I have some of those. These were from Michael's last season, or I'm sorry, last year. I don't remember the cost of them, but they were on sale when I bought them. So I've got all these flowers, and I'm trying to decide what I want to put into this little vase. I could certainly do just the pink. Let's see. You know, it would look like that. There's your top view, and if I hold it on the side, it'll be like that. I'll get pictures of it too, so it's kind of a better view. So I could certainly do the peonies, and for Valentine's Day, it's really, really cute. In the little holes of the XOXO, or even in the spaces of the love, you can kind of see the stem from the flower. If you're concerned with that, you could certainly wrap this in ribbon. You could wrap it in some tissue paper. You could even put, if you had like a decorative bag or something that was thin enough that you liked, or some cardstock or something, you could put that in the center to kind of hide that. I don't really notice it that much, so it's not that big of a concern for me. But if it's something that you don't like, certainly, you know, do whatever makes you happy, do whatever looks appealing to you. This is merely a suggestion, and this is actually just what I happen to have in my stash. I actually don't typically decorate with spring type flowers. In the fall, however, I love the flowers, the oranges, the reds, the dark yellows. I've got all that. So it was just a coincidence that I happen to have these peonies. And they were all left over from projects. This was from a project that I just have this left over. Same for all of this. This I picked up for a project that I never ended up doing. So anywho, that's what the pink would look like in there. And if I wanted to diffuse or break up the pink a little, I could stick some of these pretty hydrangeas in there and just make it a little less pink and give it some pink and purpley blue, because it's got like a hint of purple on the edges and mostly blue. So I could do that. I am not a floral designer in any way, shape, or form. I am just doing what I think is pretty. You can certainly do this in whatever design that you like. If you are a floral designer, then I am jealous of you, and I'm happy for your talent, but man, oh man, it looks easy, but it really isn't. Anyway, so this is how it would look if I did something like that. If I wanted to go for a different look, I could use these other flowers that I have. So when I do this, I kind of like, you could cut them off of this like I've done with the hydrangeas. But for these, I'm just going to keep them on, and I'm going to spread them out a little bit. Hopefully you can get that. I'm going to do the same for the roses, just spread it out a little bit, and then I'm going to just layer them. Same for these little ball flower things that I don't know what they're called. If you know, let me know. Put it in the comments. And I'm going to, actually just weave these in first. I'm just going to kind of weave them in together so that they look like they are in a bundle together and not just randomly arranged here. So just do kind of a random, and then I'm going to take the blue. I'm going to raise them a little bit because they have a little shorter of a stem, and just weave them in. Sorry if this is making you nauseous because it's wiggling so much. All right, just do something like that. And put that in there. It's certainly not as full and as pretty as the pink ones, so I could take the hydrangeas and again just kind of shove some in there to make it look fuller. But again, it's whatever you want to do, however you want to arrange it. Maybe you already have a beautiful bouquet, or maybe you want to put a real flowers in there. If you have a thin vase that you could stick in there to hold the water, then, you know, that would be a good way to put real flowers in there. But yeah, this is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to display it. It's just going to sit on a shelf. Love, XOXO. It's going to have flowers in it. I'm probably going to go with the peonies because I thought that looked prettier and a bit fuller. And this can be used for Valentine's Day. The coloring is also good for spring. So that is how I finished this one. I hope that if you try it, you share pictures, and I hope that you like it as much as I like mine. I'm going to be making a decorative picture display out of this chunk of wood and this chunk of wood. Prior to a couple of hours ago, these were one piece of wood that was about 15.5 inches long and about 9, let's see, yeah, about 9 inches wide. It's just over 9 inches wide. This is a piece of scrap wood that I had in my garage. My husband used his miter saw to cut it in half for me. I am able to use the machine, but this one was a little bit bigger than what his saw can do. So he had to cut halfway on one side, turn it around and cut the other half. And I didn't feel confident enough doing it. So he thankfully did it for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to use this piece as a base. And at about the halfway point, I'm going to put this piece and glue it on so that it has a nice base on either side. I'll even it out a little better. It'll have a nice base on either side, and I could put a picture on this side and a picture on this side if I so cared to. I'm going to go ahead and glue it on by putting glue along the edge here. I might get out of frame in order to do this, so I'm just going to add the glue to the edge. So I've got the glue on there. Just going to use my finger to kind of swoosh it around. All right, so I'm going to leave that clamp together for a little while. My plaque is glued together. I've got the top piece and the bottom piece. It's been several hours, so it's nice and secure. I'm going to give it a faux finish with this Dollar Tree deep brown paint, some baby wipes. I'm just going to put the paint on it, wipe it off with the baby wipe so that it just gives it a faux stain look. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put on some gloves. If you haven't seen this technique before, there's a few ways you can do it. You can water down your paint just by putting it in a dish and adding some water, applying it and then wiping it off with a paper towel or a rag or something like that. Or you can apply the paint straight to the wood and then wipe it off with a baby wipe. That's my preferred method. I think it turns out nice, but I have done it the other way and it does work that way too. So either way, whatever you're more comfortable with, or if you like staining, then by all means, use a stain of your choice. I just don't like the smell of a stain. Just put on the paint and wipe it with your baby wipe. The wood has fully dried, And I have added a piece of like baker's twine around there. Actually, I've wrapped it 4 times. I bought some of this around Christmas time, and it's just white baker's twine, and it has like a gold tinsel on it. So I took a chunk of it. I wrapped it around 4 times so it was a little bit more substantial. As you can see, I tied the end. I did put just a little touch of hot glue there, and I'm going to trim off the excess. And that's how it's going to look. And now I'm going to attach this Love, galvanized metal Love. The Dollar Tree has the wood signs that say Love, and then it has this little galvanized piece on it. And I used the Love sign for something else, but I removed this galvanized piece. So now I'm going to apply it to this plaque. And then I'm going to use these teeny tiny cute little clothespins. I don't even know if you can call them a clothespin at this point. And I'm going to put those there and use this with a picture. So I actually just printed this off of my my printer here at home. So it's not picture quality. It's not on picture paper. It's just regular printer paper. But these are my kitties. This is Kabuto, and this is Machi here blending into the background. Kabuto actually passed away in December of 2021, but he's still my baby, so I wanted to find a picture with the 2 of them in it, and surprisingly it was difficult because they didn't get in a lot of pictures together. So those are my kitties. Before I glue anything on, I want to put a piece of painter's tape along here. To attach this galvanized love sign, I'm just going to use my favorite super glue gel with a little bit of hot glue. The love sign is on. I did have to use my heat gun a little bit and heat it up so that the hot glue could melt a little bit so I could squish it down a little better. I didn't realize that my my glue gun wasn't quite as warm as it needed to be, so the glue kind of hardened before I was able to place it. But I did get it all sorted out, so it looks nice. I had 2 of these love signs. I attached one on this side. I also attached one on this side, so I've got a 2-sided little plaque. I'm going to put a picture on this side and a picture on the other. We're just going to use my little teeny tiny, I don't even know where I got these from. I happen to have like a little Ziploc baggie of them. And I'm going to put one in each corner. Obviously, you know, if you did something similar, you could use whatever you prefer clip-wise. There is some hardware that you can buy that's like a little clip also that you could screw into this. And I thought about maybe doing that, but I'm trying to use up what I have in my stash. So this was what I had in my stash. And that's how that's going to look. I don't have a picture for the other side because I only printed this. I might end up doing just a little teeny, those little double-sided sticky dots that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I might just stick a couple back there so that it doesn't flare up. But other than that, here's my little picture sign.